Hey, Larken Rose here. Wanted to do a quick video about something I've mentioned in passing now and then. Largely, the purpose of this video is actually to point people to somebody else's video. James Corbett just did an awesome video about the bystander effect, and I will link to that below. So I suggest everybody go check that out. And it has to do with how people behave, and it relates to the Ash experiment, the Solomon Ash experiments on conformity, and the Stanley Milgram experiments, and then the bystander effect, which is a different thing. But it has to do with human psychology and how people actually behave and what it takes to make them behave differently. And it reminded me of a thing I was going to make a video about anyway, which is basically celebrating the fact that in human society we have a certain number of people who are sort of inherently contrarian. Now, there's some people who are contrarian who just, they're trying to cause trouble and they're angry and bitter, and it has nothing to do with skepticism or a pursuit of truth. But it's funny how personality traits have a lot to do with how much positive difference somebody is going to make in the world. Because there are a lot of people, in fact, for society to exist, I think there kind of needs to be a lot of people who one of their top priorities is not making waves, getting along with others, having the approval of others, feeling like they fit in. That's a pack animal thing. And you'll see in Corbett's video about that if you go watch that. That's what a lot of people do a lot of the time, and that's sort of needed. Like, it's sort of a built-in compromise mechanism where instead of everybody arguing about everything all the time and finding reasons to not get along, people sort of conform and they adapt to the attitude and the beliefs and the situation around them to fit in. Like, okay, if everyone's doing that, if everybody else wants pizza for lunch, I'm not going to go, no, it has to be Chinese or something. It's like, okay, I'll go along to get along. That's actually a positive trait in lots and lots of ways. However, it's also not that positive if there's something horribly wrong and somebody needs to do something and everybody's sitting around watching. Or there's some tyrannical injustice going on and everybody's like, well, I'm not going to be first. I lived my whole life following the crowd and doing what everybody else is doing, and I don't see anybody else standing up. And as I've mentioned before, and as James Corbett points out in his video, one of the biggest things that makes normal people decide to speak up or disobey or do something against injustice and authoritarianism is seeing other people do that. But most people don't want to be the first person who does that. And to me, and I'm glad that James talked about this, the biggest thing in all of Milgram's 8 zillion variations that he did on the obedience to authority experiments, I'm not going to describe them again by now. You probably know what they are. If not, look them up. The biggest thing by far that makes people not blindly go along with injustice is seeing somebody else not blindly going along with injustice. So the thing is, the first person to do that usually has to be sort of a different type of personality. Somebody who's more willing and more comfortable with saying, hey, the rest of you, you're idiots. You're totally wrong about that. And that's not even about evidence and logic. That's about like personality and psychology, because at best a person who wants to conform and get along, if he's looking around and he goes, oh, everybody else believes this, I'll just not say anything. I won't speak up because I don't want to cause an argument and trouble. And in a lot of situations that's actually a good trait. It's like, okay, you get along better with people if you don't go out of your way to piss them off. And the funny thing is, I view myself as sort of, it's not really antisocial, because that's a different thing, kind of asocial, where I think I'm pretty far along the side of the spectrum where I don't at all mind standing up and saying, I think all you people are wrong about this or that or the other thing or whatever. Now, it doesn't mean in every setting I'm going to like cause an argument about if somebody's wrong about some factual thing that doesn't matter, I don't care. And the funny thing is, I don't think that's how most people should be to have a nice civil society of people getting along. But it's this weird thing that I think society, I think this about the animal kingdom too, but that's a different topic. I think society actually needs a bunch of different kinds of people and different personalities. Like the people who, and I've been this at sometimes too, the people who can be happy and content doing just manual labor. I do a job that doesn't require that much intelligence. And if I'm mowing lawns, which I did, or, I've done lots of work where it's just, okay, my brain can sort of go on a holiday and think about other things and write books and stuff, but I can still, feel fulfilled and accomplished doing something that's pretty simple that most people could do. And for a whole lot of things, now, as robots show up, this may become less true, but for a lot of things, if you're, we need to build a road here, okay, would you rather have 100 guys who are strong and they don't have to be dumb, but they also don't have to be smart? They have to, know how to use some equipment, and they have to be able to work hard and be used to that. Or do you want to build a road with 100 opinionated geniuses? We should do it this way. Nothing's ever getting done. So I think humanity needs sort of the conformity influence so that mostly things are civilized and people aren't just constantly arguing about everything. But when something's wrong, they also need the people who it's almost a personality disorder, except I think it's essential and good for some people to have it. People who say, no, you're totally wrong, but you're all wrong about that. And I don't mind standing up and doing something different or thinking something different or saying something different. And if all of you give me your disapproval, I really don't give a shit. And you'll actually see a fine example in James Corbett's video. He didn't pay me to promote his video. I'm mentioning it every 5 seconds. But it's funny because in the Solomon Asch conformity things, experiments, you can see that some people knew they were lying. They ask people, which of these lines is the same size as that line? And some people are like, they must be right. I'm going to follow the crowd because I assume they must know what they're talking about. I don't even trust myself. But other people, you could see it in their expression. And sometimes they'll say what they know is true, and other people will give them a dirty look. And the next time, they'll say in this pathetic, resigned voice, okay, the thing everybody else said. And you can see in their expression, I know this isn't true, but just, okay, fine. I don't want to deal with. And the people who don't want to deal with conflict or pressure, even, not people throwing rocks at them type of conflict, just sort of other people's disagreement, to a lot of people, that's very stressful. And there's some people who are very far on that side, who are very conflict avoidant, who will agree with whoever they're talking to, and then go to talk to somebody who believes everything different and agree with everything they said because they so much don't want there to be even that low level of, nah, I think you're wrong about that. And, at that point, I think I wouldn't call that ever good, because if you're lying about what you believe to fit in, you're kind of being a phony and a fraud. You're not just sort of being nice to get along. You're putting on an act with who you're playing chameleon to put on an act with whoever you're with. And you're not even, are you ever you? Do you have any thoughts of your own? But I think, and I've seen this, and you can see in the movement the problem created by having lots and lots of people who are opinionated and don't give a crap about what other people think and think outside the box, sometimes way outside the box of logic and reason too. But you get personality clashes and you get these weird conflicts in a bunch of places in the movement precisely because it largely consists of people who are willing to say, I don't care what most people think, here's what I think. Whether they're right or not, that's just sort of a personality thing. They can be glaringly, absolutely wrong, but still, I can bravely stand up and say the earth is flat. Okay, no, it isn't, but I'm glad that you're at least somebody who dares to say what they think. I wish you would take some more time to actually apply logic to evidence to figure out what you should think. But having a bunch of those people together, it's usually argument and debate. And the funny thing is, among smart people who do that, most of them like it. Like, I like going to events where there's debates and discussions and arguments. Not arguments as in angry necessarily. I mean, sometimes they might turn into that. But like when I go to these events and have discussions with people who like to think and debate and ponder ideas, they very often gravitate towards positions of disagreement. And I do that with people I respect like most in the world, because it's fun talking to a really smart person about something that you disagree with if both of you are capable of having a rational discussion. Most people don't like that. Most people, because of their personalities, like, I don't want to hang out with people and argue with them. And literally the smartest people I know and the people I respect the most, I enjoy disagreeing with them. Not for the sake of disagreeing, but I enjoy having an exchange and focusing on things to disagree with. And the funny thing is, you can see the personality trait of other people showing up as, can't we all just get along? Why are you bringing up differences between you and this political party? Because that political party advocates the violent subjugation of mankind. Like, that's a pretty significant difference. I'm not going to pretend that's not there. But you can see a lot of people who want us to all just get along, even if that means throwing principles out the window and pretending we're on the same side as people who absolutely advocate widespread state violence. And no, I'm not on their side. And then on the other side of the spectrum is people who will find anything to debate about. Like, there's 8 zillion libertarians who are like, well, what about this thing? Well, what about, what is the proper foundation of property ownership and the homesteading principle? Let's debate the finer points of that for a million billion years. And a whole bunch of other things. And I think the people who enjoy that and like debating, like, they tend to be the people who dare to be in a crowd and say, I think you're all totally wrong. And whether just intellectually wrong or morally wrong, like, you're all cheering for something that's just evil, and I don't give a crap how many of you group around to go, yeah, I'm still going to say you're all wrong. And you can see that herd mentality in statists of all stripes, whether they're Trumpites or socialists or socialist Trumpites, since there isn't really a significant difference. But they'll all crowd in because they like the feeling of being among like-minded people more than they like actually examining or discussing their beliefs. Because to them, that's a better reward. To them, the psychological reward that matters is, lots of people around me are saying I'm right. Okay, does logic and evidence say you're right, or just popularity at the given moment in the given crowd of people you happen to be surrounded by? But you'll see that a lot in debates. And people don't hide it. They don't even know there is a thing to hide. Because they'll just jump on and say, yeah, but he said. It's like, well, that's... that didn't add anything to anybody's argument, right? And you can say, kind of like what I did with James Corbett's video, it's like, this is really cool, go check this out. This expresses very well some awesome concepts and evidence and stuff. But if I go, he's right, hey you, say that he's right. Let's all get together and say he's right. Okay, who does that persuade? Like, did you say anything? Did you explain why? Did you elaborate? Did you add anything? Did you maybe even challenge something? Or did you just get a crowd together and go, we all agree with that? Because that's mostly what statism is. It's what Trumpites are, all of them. We're on Trump's side. What does he believe? Nobody knows, because all he ever does is speak in vague bullshit Barnum statements. So there's nothing philosophical to agree with. He doesn't believe anything except worshiping himself. That is the foundation of Trump. But lots of Trump supporters like to get together and wear their Trump hats and wave their Trump flags and tell everybody, I worship this guy too, because they value the feeling of belonging way more than they value understanding anything or actually being principled, and definitely way more than they value standing up for what's right. Because when Trump does heinous stuff, which he constantly does, and it's getting more and more ridiculous, look how many of them make excuses or they just get quiet. Now, some of them are coming out and saying, okay, I don't like this. But the fact that they dragged their feet for that many years is because they liked the feeling of being in a crowd with a purpose. The mob that all believes we're righteously in favor of whatever the hell it is. It's like, okay, if we take away the mob and there's just you, can you justify your belief system? Can you explain what you believe and why? Or are you going to go, oh, where's my mob? I want to run back to the mob so I can hide behind it because I'm an intellectual coward who can't actually justify anything he thinks. Which is Republicans and Democrats and voters and most people most of the time in most categories. Like, to be honest, it's what most people do with most things they believe. Because without the comfort of other people saying, we're behind you, we believe that crap too. Again, whether it's true or not is completely irrelevant to this phenomenon. Whether they believe something true or not is irrelevant to the comfort most people get from having a crowd behind them. And the funny thing is, sometimes I see people project that onto anarchists. Like somebody comes along and posts some bootlicking comment under one of my videos, and some other anarchist will like go, this is wrong, that doesn't make any sense because this. Oh, you're just here to praise Larken, and it, like, no, that person actually said something and explained a thing. You're literally projecting your own pack mentality onto other people because you can't imagine being that person who in a crowd of people saying something you disagree with would stand up and go, I disagree with that. Even if you all think I'm wrong, even if you all give me disapproving scowls, don't give a shit. I'm going to say what I think. And I can explain the reasons for what I think. And if you can prove me wrong or have a discussion about it, okay. But that phenomenon known as peer pressure is massively powerful, and it is massively more powerful than most people think as applied to them. The average person, if you say, do you like stand up for what you believe? Most people will go, yeah, I have my convictions and my beliefs. And then you put them in a crowd of people who disagree, and they're usually just sort of, I'm not going to say anything. Put them in a crowd of people going rah, rah, rah for what they believe. Then they will bravely do what the rest of the crowd is doing. But to speak differently or think differently or act differently in the face of having no allies is something most people's personalities really, really, really don't like. Most people's psychologies just don't like that, and it takes a special, weird kind of person. So the point of this video is to praise the contrarian, sometimes rude bastards who are willing to say, yeah, I think all of you are wrong. Even if that means, oh, we're not going to get along or you're not going to approve of me or whatever. Because they're the ones who always start the positive change. And the thing is, and go watch James Corbett's video. I'm going to say that 15 more times. Because the thing is, it starts with that guy. It starts with the guy who's like, I'm going to do something and say something that nobody around me is doing or saying. Or I'm going to stand up against this or speak out against this. That's what starts it. And I've described this next thing before. Those people are necessary to start it. But it doesn't change the world until the normal people catch on and get dragged along. And then the normal people, the mob, is understanding and saying the right thing. And is resisting actual injustice and doing that stuff. And his video gets into how that actually happens. But so the thing that starts it has to be those non-conformist troublemakers who are willing to stand up in the face of everybody else's disapproval, say, I think you're all totally wrong, and here's why. And then there's the first few followers, which are also very important. Watch James Corbett's video. Who are often of a similar type of, I dare to stand up when nobody else is. But even they can be more sort of getting along with other people type people. But they hear something and go, I believe what that guy's saying, and I'm going to stand up and say so. Like, maybe I wouldn't have been the first, but maybe I'll be the second or the third or the 15th or something. But the whole herd of conformists, and I've talked about this before, I'll end on this. The good news is you don't have to convince every one of those people who are currently in the statist mob or currently in the majority on any particular issue, because almost none of them have the spine or the intellectual fortitude to cling to a belief in the face of disapproval, which means when the mob starts moving, they move with it. And then suddenly, now everybody, like the example I often use, now everybody in the Western world said slavery was really, 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 really evil. Okay? If those people had been born a few hundred years ago, or even just a couple hundred years ago, in this country, where lots of people are like, slavery is legal. Can't disagree with it, it's legal. And a few people are going, this is heinously evil, this should not be happening. And lots of the crowd was like, well, this is the way things are. And the way things are changed, and the crowd had nothing to do with it. I mean, they didn't make the change. Those weirdo, non-conformist, antisocial, asocial, whatever, troublemakers who dared to stand up and say, this is wrong. I don't give a shit if none of the rest of you are going to say anything. None of the rest of you are going to object to it. This is wrong. And then some other people go, yeah, he kind of has a point. I agree, this is wrong and shouldn't happen. And then eventually the herd moves. The herd is just doing what herds do. They don't even necessarily figure anything out. But eventually they get dragged in the right direction by those weirdos who don't care so much about popular approval and fitting in and all that crap. So this video is to express my thanks for all those weirdos out there who dare to say what they think, even when everybody around them goes, what's wrong with you? We all think so-and-so. Who are you to say that? Because those people are the ones who start fixing the world like every single time. All of human progress has started with those weirdos saying, I don't like how things are, and I know the rest of you seem okay with it right now, and I don't care. I'm still going to say something's wrong with this. This isn't how things should be. And then one or two step up and go, yeah, he might have a point. And eventually the herd moves, and then the herd is comfortable in a different position and thinks, well, everybody knows that slavery is bad. Yeah, but the only reason you of the herd mentality know that is because people who don't give a crap about your approval dragged humanity there. So I guess that's enough babbling about that. Now, in case I didn't mention this, go watch James Corbett's video on the bystander effect, because it's awesome. Yeehaw.